Hi everybody, this is Cole, and today I'm going to be speaking with you about eating disorders. Now, the reason I'm speaking about this is for a few reasons. First of all, because I found that eating disorders tend to be something prevalent within the young GLBT community. We're all insecure about our bodies, as everybody, not just the GLBT community, but I've noticed that especially eating disorders seem to be rather prevalent within young gays and lesbians, bisexuals, and transgenders. Particularly gay men, I might add, because we're just so obsessed about getting that perfect look. But, you know, we have to learn to accept our body in whatever we're given, we have to learn to work with. Anyhow, so first let me discuss what exactly an eating disorder is. There are a number of eating disorders, but the three most common eating disorders are anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder. I'm also going to be talking about an eating disorder called orthorexia, which is on the rise. So anorexia is a compulsive desire to be skinny and thus starving yourself in order to get that very, very thin look. And you might anorexics often think that they're not as skinny as they are in reality. So they're consistently worried about, just getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. Bulimics, bulimia is also called binge purge eating disorder, is whenever a person eats a lot of food, like a large amount of food, like, a lot of ice cream and sweet treats and just as much, and it's called a binge. They eat and eat and eat, and then they go and they throw it up. And they force themselves to throw it up. Anorexia and bulimia often go hand in hand, but you can be bulimic and not be anorexic, and vice versa. A bulimic may also take excessive amounts of laxatives in order to purge the food from their body. The third kind of eating disorder that I'm going to be speaking about is binge eating disorder. And binge eating disorder is a little bit different from anorexia and bulimia, but it's still a severe eating disorder and should be addressed. It's whenever it's a compulsive desire to overeat and just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And it's an eating disorder where you just continue eating, and there's no amount of, oh, I must need to be skinnier, I need to be skinnier, I need to be skinnier. It's actually just continuously eating, and people suffering from binge eating disorder often become very obese. And then the fourth kind of eating disorder is orthorexia. Now, this is one that not a lot of people have heard of, but it is an obsession over the purity of a certain kind of food, or like how healthy something is, how healthy a certain kind of food is. So like, as an example, certain dietary restrictions, such as vegetarianism and veganism, can be taken to an extreme where the vegan or the vegetarian is obsessed with making sure that absolutely nothing animal related has even touched the food in question. And I feel qualified to talk about this because I'm a vegetarian, and I've seen vegetarians act like this before, and I've acted like this in the past myself. But and then there's a fine line between just wanting to make sure that you're eating a diet which is vegetarian or according to the standards of your specific moral codes or, dietary codes, and then becoming obsessed with it and, thinking, oh, if this has anything of, any trace amount of man-made chemicals or any of the likes, that they become obsessed with eliminating that from their diet. Okay. So now let's discuss why eating disorders occur. Anorexia and bulimia and binge eating disorder all fall into this first category. And that is because of a deep sense of self-loathing or the need to punish oneself. They feel like deep in the subconscious mind, they might have the feeling like they're not good enough for some reason. And they can only become good enough by looking perfect or looking thin. So they just they just don't eat at all. And, or they eat and eat and eat and throw it up, or, whatever. And this falls into the same lines as drug use, cutting, any other self-destructive behaviors or self-destructive thought patterns and patterns of behavior. For another reason is an obsessive-compulsive personality. This is true for many anorexics as well as orthorexics. They are obsessed with, either being thin and fit and attractive, or obsessed with keeping their food pure and chemical free, or free of animal products entirely, etc. And so an obsessive-compulsive behavior is another, or obsessive-compulsive attitude is another factor in eating disorders. A third common factor in eating disorders is the need for attention. And a lot of people, they begin becoming anorexic because they just want the attention. A lot of attention is given to somebody whenever they don't look like they've been eating. And they hear that over and over again. Oh, you look so skinny, you look so skinny, you look so emaciated, blah, blah, blah. And they almost like to hear that. And I know this sounds a little sick, but it's true that it's almost like they get some kind of satisfaction from hearing that, the attention that they're given based on the eating disorder. And another reason that a lot of people are, they have a certain eating disorder is for a need for control in one's life. They might have a lack of control in their life over a number of things that might be occurring, but they can control their intake of food. So they just do that, and they become obsessed about controlling that one specific aspect of their life, which they cannot control. I guess I should talk about the reason why I specifically am making this video. And that is because for a number of years in my younger days, I struggled with anorexia. And for me, and for a lot of anorexics and bulimics and other people with eating disorders, all of these factors played a role in my eating disorder. I had very little control of my life. Our parents were divorcing. I was being thrown all about, and the court and all of it was just a big hot mess that I couldn't control. And also, along with that, I had this kind of deep sense of I was never good enough, and I was never worth it. So I just had this, I was never, more attractive enough. I was never thin enough. And so I just got this feeling like I just needed to start dieting and dieting. And then once I had dropped below my normal weight, people began telling me about how skinny I looked, and how skinny I looked, and how skinny I looked. And for some strange reason, that gave me this kind of odd sense of yeah, I am skinny, hell yeah. And it was almost like the sixth sense of the skinnier the better. I have to be skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. And I almost, whenever people would tell me oh, you look really bad, you just look really emaciated, I'd get this satisfied, it was like a compliment that they'd pay to me almost. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I know, but inside I'd be like, yeah, good, I'm just gonna keep dieting, see how skinny I can really get. And so just a lot of these things, and then they all can play a role in an eating disorder. So now, what to do if you or your loved one is suffering from an eating disorder. Now, if you are suffering from an eating disorder, likely you do not know it. And the reason I say that is because most people with eating disorders are in denial that they have an eating disorder. They will say, I don't have an eating disorder, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm just living my life, I'm just eating what I want to eat and doing what I want to do. And a lot of people, they don't realize that they have the eating disorder, or they don't want to admit it even. It's not even like they don't want to admit it, it's just they don't believe that they have it. And so now, in a number of cases, I always say that never tell somebody with an eating disorder how skinny or how bad that they look. Because, like I said, they like to hear that, and that'll just give them incentive to becoming skinnier. Therapy is always a good idea for somebody with an eating disorder. However, if the therapy does not seem to be working, and this is a bit of a drastic move, and if you can see that this is not the right move, that if you can see that the person in question is continuing to lose weight, the child in question or the teen in question, then you need to, of course, not take this route. But one good route is just to pull them out of therapy, stop telling them anything about the eating disorder, entirely just ignore the eating disorder. And sometimes it'll go away, just based on a lack of publicity, if you will. And that's especially true for people who use an eating disorder as a method of attention getting. And so that's an option, but like I said, it's risky, and you need to watch the person who is in question, who has the eating disorder. If it's a friend or a loved one whose lives obviously you cannot control, either talk to somebody who does have control of them, like a parent if you're young, and if you're not, just really all you can do is tell them, you need help, and have a very heartfelt conversation with them. It's beyond any kind of matter of you look really skinny or anything. You just need to tell them how they are actually hurting you by hurting themselves, and allow them to know that, and tell them that they need to get help. And hopefully then that will give them incentive to go find help. Let's see. I think that's really all that I have to say on the matter. And just stay strong, and remember that there are people who love you just for the way you are, and remember to accept who you are and what body that you're given. And that doesn't mean don't be healthy, but remember to just continually to accept who you are for all that you are. And have a lovely day, everybody. Bye.